Sandbox. He's also a Northeastern alumni, so go Huskies. And he's going to be talking to us about Metaverse real estate and just what the Sandbox does, how he got there, and any questions you guys have. So Arnaud has some slides and we'll let him start with those.
Will these slides be shared after?
I'm sorry?
Will these slides be shared after?
Arnaud, can you share us the slides afterwards?
I got to check, probably not right after, but I'll double check with basically the team to make sure everything is cool, but it should be all right.
Okay, that sounds good. So yes, we'll let you know after. So Arnaud, the stage is yours.
Great. Thank you guys for having me. I haven't been back to Northeastern since 2004. So it sounds, it sounds really old, I know, but it's true. So let's go through this. I'm here in Paris, actually. It's dark outside, as you can tell. Thought I'd show you a little bit of a glimpse of the city outside. I'm about to share this presentation. Let me know if you have a problem seeing it. Is it full screen? Yeah, I can see it in the background, so that should be okay. Great. So actually, these slides are kind of more generic about the metaverse itself because I think it's a very new concept, and I don't think anyone really can define it at this stage, including people at the Sandbox. It's such a broad topic, and of course, there's absolutely a real estate aspect to it that I'd like to cover with you guys, and I'll be happy to take questions, and hopefully I can answer a lot of them. But to get started, I just wanted to kind of give you a brief overview of what the metaverse is, and I can basically take as much time as necessary. But from what I understand, it's about an hour, so I'll make sure to kind of like spend, just maybe like 15 minutes on this, and then we can have a chat about different things. But again, we can go back on the slides if need be. So anyway, my name is Arnaud Campais. I was born and raised in France, and I studied at Northeastern. Then I very quickly by myself, I lived in Japan and China for 5 years each after that. So, and then I moved back to France in 2014, worked in different industries. I had set up a production media company basically in China. And then I got into crypto around 2017, got the first crypto kitties back in the day. Was really excited about all kinds of applications. I've been an avid gamer since I was a kid. And I really wanted to kind of like, get in on that kind of bandwagon that was just kind of starting with NFT markets and also just everything that was blockchain. I studied finance at Northeastern, so to me it was a kind of like an obvious choice to go in that direction. And when I found actually last year I interviewed for a different project for Esquire actually in Japan, which was my client at the time. I did an interview with Sébastien Borget, who's the head of the Sandbox. He's the co-founder and COO, and he's based in Paris. And I thought the project was so cool. I'd known about it before, but after talking to Sébastien, I was super inspired by how it works because I was really inspired by the human aspect of the project. I mean, I think it's the case for a lot of you guys, especially the ones in the crypto club. You hear about a lot of projects, all sounds very interesting. You see all those numbers that seem really exciting. But at the same time, at the end of the day, it's just like any business. It's a lot about people, and meeting Sébastien and seeing how human he was and like interesting. Like his vision was so interesting that I thought I really want to be part of this. And so I basically, had a chat with them. We managed to kind of work something out, and I ended up starting to work for them since basically the 4th of January this year. So it's brand new, but by Sandbox standards, it's actually, I'm pretty old already. A lot of people are still, joining us as we speak here in Paris and beyond. So yeah, this is just to give you a quick background of where I'm from and how I got to know the Sandbox. And now I'll let you know about a bit more about this project, which I think is one of the most interesting metaverse projects. So this is a quick intro. I don't know if you can get the sound. Let me double check. Sorry about that. I got a chance. Yeah, I wasn't sharing sound. So, I mean, you have an idea of this is just music, but still. This is our alpha season 2 that just came out this month and is running until March 31st. So I'll tell you a bit more about it later. But basically, it has quests to complete. It's like basically a game and way beyond a game. So this is why I think it's important to kind of introduce the concept of the metaverse before going into the real estate aspect. Okay, so for you guys who might not have checked it out, if you want to check out the Sandbox, I really recommend checking it out on sandbox.game. But sorry, I actually got out of the presentation altogether. You know, because I think this is going to answer really what a metaverse is, or at least, you know, what a version of the metaverse is. But let's try to answer this very broad question, which is, what is the metaverse? So if you look at the numbers, again, I talked about it. It sounds very exciting, especially in terms of different industries such as retail, and obviously it entails also real estate. But basically, it's a way to kind of obviously, since it's property that's stored on the blockchain, you can trade and you can assign certain, you know, ownership aspects to it. And it's a business that's really booming. You already saw it in 2020, 2021. And, you know, this is based on different sources, including Forbes. But this is, according to them, an industry that's about to boom even more than that. And they say about 2026, more than 25% of people will spend at least 1 hour on the metaverse every day. By, you know, by that time, 30% of the population will have products ready for the metaverse by 2026. I mean, to me, from where we're standing today, it really seems to be like almost like a conservative estimate, to be honest. But that's kind of like the numbers they have. And then, you know, they talk about how it's an immersive experience. So it has a real estate and home application with $10 billion plus of, you know, kind of value in landowners and architecture and houses and landmarks and skyscrapers, interior design. Obviously, other industries are interested also, including education, gaming, restaurants, apparel, music and concerts, dating and relationships. I mean, we talk to all kinds of people. I mean, all kinds of people come and talk to us, which is super interesting. Like it really spans pretty much any industry you can think of. And so that's, I think, what's interesting. Like, to me, it's, yeah, metaverse sounds very fancy, but I think like what's really exciting is about how much it inspires people to create new things. And I think we're just seeing the beginning. So very quickly, what is the Sandbox? The Sandbox is an ecosystem. Let's just begin with the beginning. I don't know if you are aware of basically what it is today. It's this basically started as a game, but really is a lot more than that, because it's an ecosystem for people to be able to create their own content, share it with other people, to actually, for example, create in-game assets that you can create very easily. As you can see, it's very, you know, it's voxel based, which means voxels are like pixel art, but in 3D. So it's very easy. It's almost like Lego, really. You can put it together very easily, those little blocks, and then you can kind of create avatars, for example, so characters. You can create enemies. You can create a house. You can create the furniture that goes into the house. You can create, you know, pretty much anything you can think of. And that's basically used in a software that we have developed, which is called Vox Edit. It allows you to do everything within that software. You can model, meaning you can create the actual asset, but then you can rig it. So that means you can create bones in order for it to then animate. So you can rig and animate also within the same software. And then once that's ready, you can export it. You can either put it on marketplace for and you basically mint it as an NFT. So put it on the blockchain for people to be able to own it. And have a scarce kind of like create scarcity out of it, really, by saying, okay, I want to build, you know, 500 of these, or I want to build one of these, whatever it is, like, and then you can set a price for it and put it on our marketplace on the Sandbox, which is also on the website. And then after that's done, really, you know, people who are interested in buying your NFT to create their own character, maybe because to create their own experience, whether because they want to use it as a part of their story that they want to build within the Sandbox, or whether they just want to collect it as a collectible, or think they want to, you know, sell it later or trade it, or, you know, reuse it in a different metaverse. Also, that's something that's possible. And I'll get into that later. Everything really, anything you can think of, really, you can do once you've minted as an NFT. The other part of that's part of Vox Edit, which is, again, this software that allows you to do all that. It's free. You can try it out yourself. It's very easy to use. And I recommend you check it out if you've never been into crypto, especially people who maybe more from the real estate you know, world. That would be interesting to actually check it out. The other software that we have is Game Maker. And Game Maker is, you put all these NFTs that I just mentioned before, all these assets that have been built into Vox Edit and put them together into this experience, really. So you have kind of a blank land. This is where we're getting into a little bit more of the real estate, and you can populate it with all those assets. And you can also create, pile up blocks to create a mountain, for example, or dig and like add some water blocks to create, some river that goes through the land, or whatever you want to create. Add the houses you created in Vox Edit, or you bought from the marketplace from someone who built in the Vox Edit software. Put it there. Create a little fence, and then, put some sheep, whatever you have, your own farm, whatever you want to build, basically, or your own, pantheon, or whatever it is, to like some kind of, I don't know, kind of story you might have come up with, or whatever it is. Like, you can pretty much create anything you want. So there's obviously content. There's an economy, as I mentioned before, because you have this whole aspect of being able to trade whatever you create, and really have true ownership of it, or actually give true ownership of, to other people who want to own it through trading. You have a blockchain, obviously, technology that allows for that, and that powers the whole thing. You have experiences, and that's from the game maker. As I said, you can create your own experience. You don't even need to be on the blockchain. If you just want to test out some games, you can also download the game maker for free and check it out yourself. And then there's culture, because this tool is so powerful that it's so easy to use to start with, but also can create so much and make it, again, possible for people to own it, that it's attracted just a lot of brands, a lot of different artists, a lot of different people. The brands you see here, whether it's Gucci, Adidas, Atari, The Walking Dead, all of those are big franchise, big IPs, Warner Music Group, Snoop Dogg. But we also have a lot of independent creators and that we work with, and we empower a lot through this. So it is an ecosystem. That's, I think, the main message. And again, so you go into creation, you have, we work with architects, or architects come to us to actually help us create, for example, experiences for some IPs that just want, maybe to start working with us, but don't really have the resources to create everything from scratch. We have fashion designers, who want to create, wearables for the avatars, game designers, obviously, a lot of people, actually, some of our in-house staff also comes from, AAA developers, and want to create something, or actually help onboard, new creators for them to create their own experiences. We have house designers, again, so getting back into this real estate aspect. We have obviously with the play part of it, we have obviously gamers, coaches, collectors, guild managers, because this is also something that's going to develop as the engine develops. Right now, the engine is still in alpha phase, so we have a lot of the same gaming mechanics, but we're going to expand that in the next months and years for it to be a lot more versatile in terms of what kind of experiences you can create. So based on that, basically, we'll have, very likely to have esports, and things like that are hosted on certain lands, on certain, with certain rules, and you can think of all kinds of things that we can build with that. Discovery, obviously, is, whether it's cultural, as, creating NFT museums. That's kind of an application we've already kind of rolled out with our alpha seasons, but also all kinds of different opera houses that are being built, all kinds of really interesting concepts that are just getting started. Obviously, nightclubs also, we have, virtual concerts that we starting to roll out, and all those things. Business, obviously, you have the landowners on one side. You have also all kinds of asset management services, basically, that are starting to sprout up. You have NFT resellers. They're talking virtual real estate agent. That's one thing. For example, you have landowners who bought very early, but don't really know what to do with the land, or are happy to kind of like rent it out for people to develop their own experiences, either as, just like you would have a parcel of land in a city. Let's take, for example, Paris, my neighborhood. Like, there's actually like some commercial space right around here. And, people just, especially with COVID, like a lot of people left. And so new people are coming in. Well, it'd be the same thing basically in the metaverse, because that plot of land is just not, you can't hack it. You can't steal it. You have it. And then basically people can create a smart contract to, rent it, just like you would have a rental contract with your landlord, for example. So that's something that's being developed right now. Everything is on the roadmap. As we are still in alpha, the whole map is not yet released, because we are still developing the game, but we already are releasing those seasons regularly to give a proof of concept. And in those, you have a sample of lands basically that you can explore to see a little bit where all of this is headed as we open more and more of the map. for people to develop. Community, event organizers, NFT ticket resellers. So imagine, for example, dating planner also, I mean, wedding planners. We have people who want to create, wedding chapels in the metaverse. So all kinds of things like that also are part of the applications to like more of a community driven kind of content. So very quickly, this is the map overall. We minted 166,464 lands on the Ethereum blockchain, and we have released already 70% of it, which means we're still sitting on about 30% of it. And the way it works is basically some of it we're keeping to help creators create great basically experiences, people who have great projects that we believe in. We want to empower them and give them basically a chance to create those. So they need real estate for that, and we're aware of that. So we want to keep some of it. Some of it is still going to be sold. And the way it works basically is we have sales, and you can follow us on Twitter or Discord and find out about when the sales are coming out. What's interesting is about a few years back, it was kind of a lot easier to get land. But now with the world kind of coming to grasp with the potential of this platform, it's getting very, very hard to buy directly from the Sandbox. Basically, when the land sale starts, it gets sold out in just a very, very short time, which means at the end, in the end, most people who really eventually want to get a land will have to get it from a secondhand marketplace, most likely OpenSea, which is kind of the most popular one for the ERC blockchain. For those who don't know what ERC blockchain is and everything, I guess most people know, but if you don't, feel free to ask your crypto peers or ask me later, and I'll be happy to help you understand a little bit more. So the other part is, as I said before, the marketplace. So this is what it looks like within our website. So you can check it out directly on sandbox.game. And yeah, you can check out every NFT. For example, this is actually something that was made for Atari. I think it was probably made by an artist that Atari worked with, or maybe directly at Atari, to be honest. I'm not 100% sure, but you can look at it. You can kind of, spin it around, make sure, see it basically from every angle. And obviously, because it's usable in the Sandbox, you can also use it in Game Maker and then publish it as an experience if you have land to publish it on, or just use it as a test kind of case for the Game Maker. So yeah, this was a video. Let me just skip through that. So what's a land? Very quickly, again, it's a portion of the metaverse that represents basically, I'm trying not to butcher that in English. I think it's hectare. I don't know, like all the people in the real estate will know how to pronounce it. It's basically 100 meters by 100 meters, or I should say 96 meters by 96 meters. The way it works is the scale of the Sandbox is we want to make it detailed enough, but not too detailed. So there are standards that have been basically set. A meter is about 32, which is about 3 feet. It's about 32 pixels. So actually, we'd say 10 pixel is about a foot. And so we made each land to be 96 by 96, so 32 times 96 over 32 by 96, and it's 128 meters in height. So it's actually quite vertical, like New York City. You see all those skyscrapers because people, want to save basically real estate and maximize value out of them. So we have a lot of experiences that are quite vertical, but not all of them. Some are actually quite spaced out. But you see, for example, like some really intricate design that's starting to show up. So architecture-wise, is quite interesting. If you check out the alpha season this month, so this is alpha season 2. We already released an alpha season last year, and this is the second one we do. So those are test phases where we roll out like a few land parcels that are ready to be shown to the public. So that they can kind of have an experience and understand what the metaverse is like. That one, for example, there's one called Meta Dungeon that was made there, and it's actually on a one parcel. So it's 100 meters over 100 meters. But that game takes like at least an hour to complete, I would say, for the first time you play it through, which is quite impressive because basically on a very small surface, they managed to create all kinds of assets, including like basically a whole town similar to what you would see in like a city. I mean, it reminds you of Blade Runner a little bit. So that's quite impressive to do that. And I think the way they did it is they really managed to like parcel out the different levels very well. So yeah, and so lands are a portion of the metaverse open to player ownership. Again, that's what I mentioned before. It's on the ERC 721 blockchain for people to whom that's important. Basically, it's on the Ethereum blockchain. That's basically a blockchain that's reserved for NFTs. So it's not necessarily for the Ethereum currency, but it's for NFTs. Similar to land with the same kind of smart contracts you can develop for those, and they can be edited by their owner and contain other tokens such as assets and games, which we've mentioned before. So assets would be the ones built in VoxEdit to create experiences. Multiple lands can be linked together to form a bigger parcel. So that's also what we're doing is we're allowing, usually a 3x3. So that's 3 lands per 3 lands. So that would be, 300 meters over 300 meters. Those are quite valuable because you can create an even bigger section. And actually there are up to 24 by 24, which are huge land parcels that are also out there. But I don't think we have a lot more for sale, to be honest. At least not in the first-hand market. So this is an example of like the different brands that started basically buying in the metaverse and are trying to basically develop and are developing their experiences right now. Snoop Dogg actually released an experience on our latest alpha season 2, so you can check it out. It's kind of a storytelling, and you hang out at Snoop's mansion. You kind of like, first you have to answer a bunch of questions about Snoop to prove that you're legit and you can get in, and then the doors open and you can like find all kinds of characters within the Snoop Dogg universe and all that. I'm just going to go through this a little and maybe a little bit faster, just so we have time to answer questions, because we're already quite over time what I originally mentioned allocated for this presentation. But I just want to stress that all of this sounds super interesting, and there's again like a lot of numbers behind, but really I think the reason why I think the Sandbox has such great potential is because it's a very human experience. At the end of the day, it's about creativity, imagination, and opportunity. And when it comes to creativity, we've already talked about it, and I'll just go through this very quickly, but I really recommend you guys check it out. This is the VoxEdit. So this is a UGC. We have this UGC ecosystem where you go on VoxEdit, you create your character, you animate it, you have it ready so that it has its own animations, it can move around or whatever you want it to do. Then you put it on the marketplace. Then from the marketplace it goes into the game maker. Either someone buys it, or you can even like go directly from your own you can use your own assets obviously in the game maker without paying any money, obviously. Also, if you just want to test things out, you don't have to pay for the assets, because it's only when you have to publish it that you'll have to basically own those assets. But when it comes to just testing out in Game Maker, we understand that you're still in kind of like draft mode, and then in that case you can just test out to see if the NFT or whatever the asset that you have makes sense and fits into the world before actually having to release it. So anyone can really build, share, and monetize whatever things they do. And just to give you a little bit of a background, I'm backtracking a little bit. The Sandbox, the reason why I think the Sandbox is so unique is because it used to be a 2D game. You can actually find it on iOS or the Android marketplace as a 2D game, and that was an off-chain game, meaning it didn't have any NFTs or anything. It was a bit similar to what you have with Mario Maker, but more intricate and more involved in that you could really create assets from scratch, and you can like draw pixel art and create mountains. Again, like you could kind of like terraform, you could do all kinds of things, and then you could create levels and people could play through those levels. You can share your own levels with other people, and people could also share their levels, and you can play theirs. And it was just a huge community with in the end they had 40 million downloads for that game, so it was a huge game. And when they saw CryptoKitties, they thought this is now the chance to actually have people to have people rewarded for all the time they spend doing this, because until now it did benefit the company itself, but it didn't really benefit anyone spending hours upon hours of making that game, while they could have, since they're using their creativity and all that stuff, those are skills that usually are can be rewarded. And they thought putting that on the blockchain, putting this concept on the blockchain makes a whole lot of sense for people to actually still spend time in this ecosystem, but also make a living off of it, or at least, be rewarded for the time they put in. So that's how the Sandbox came about. And I think that's quite interesting because they already have a huge track record. That game came out in 2012. So it's been 10 years. and they basically have this whole track record of creating communities through around creation. So it's really not a new concept. The real new part of this is really the fact that now it's on the blockchain and people can actually benefit financially from it, socially interact and own everything, which also creates it much more of a virtual land than it was originally. So here's a quick, very quick idea of how Vox Edit works. I really recommend you guys check it out. It makes a lot more sense if you try it out yourself. You can also, I don't know if you're familiar with voxel editing, but there's a software that's quite popular. It's called Magic Voxel, and it's completely compatible with it. All you can do in Magic Voxel, though, is actually just you can model. Here with Vox Edit, you can do everything. You can rig, again, you can animate and all that. But if you prefer, if you're more familiar with another software, now we're creating a lot of interoperability between those. So so this is rigging, for example, and animating. So you see, and then you go into you add some features to the asset, and then you can put it on the marketplace, and there it is. And you can see it in game the way it looks when everything is ready. So very quickly, this is the marketplace. We've already kind of gone through that. That's kind of like a quick video to give you an idea of what it looks like also. So again, you're creating, like, you're adding some of the rarity items if you have tokens for that. And then again, you create the model. There's a little raccoon, boom, and then you rig it. You can send it to marketplace. You can export it. That's the way it is. You basically say it's a new asset. You call it something that's relevant, and then you give it kind of a default behavior that's going to be basically used in the game maker, and then you mint it just like that. And boom, your transaction is complete. And then it's on the marketplace. So that's quite easy for people who've never been into cryptocurrencies or basically blockchain technologies. I think that the Sandbox, the reason why I love about what I love about it also is the fact that it's really kind of a great gateway for people to get into crypto. If they've never been in crypto, never owned a wallet even, I think it's a great entry point, because for a lot of people, they're not really interested in trading and just making money. But here you can be creative, you can do all kinds of things, you can play, you can share your creativity with other people, you can cooperate into creating this virtual world. And I think it speaks to a lot more people than just investing and making money off of buying Ethereum or Bitcoin or other, even like altcoins. So we have we've gone over 2 million wallets in January. I think we're up to 2.2 now, which means we're really becoming, I think, a driver for more people to get into basically Web3, which is everything that has to do with the blockchain. And I think that's very important. And it's one of the, I think, greatest things about the Sandbox is that it really opens this world to really a lot of people and even the mainstream. So this is, again, the game maker this time. So as you can see, you have assets down there. You can choose from those assets, add them to the game. Like, for example, these skeletons, you can give them behaviors. You can also switch camera and lighting and all kinds of things, settings. So if you've never really created a game before, you don't even have to learn how to code here. You can just start from scratch and start creating. So that's why I think it opens the market to a whole lot more people than just basically a platform like Unity, which will just basically be for you'll definitely need a coder for that. Here you could really be a good architect or someone who has an idea or just an artist and actually create something on someone's land or your own land and go with that. And so obviously then you have the avatars that you can customize yourself. So I think everybody is quite familiar at this stage with what an avatar is and what you can do. The great thing about it is that, they can be interoperable. The fact that they're NFTs mean they exist even outside of the Sandbox, which means, so this is actually the default avatar menu you have when you go into the Sandbox. You can go and create on the left panel here and choose avatar, and then you can kind of like customize your avatar. But overall, like the cool thing is, these characters, for example, the Snoop Dogg's avatars who got sold out very quickly, actually, when they got released. One day they might be usable in different applications. Right now, actually, we have communities that actually basically are kind of like a members club for people who own doggies, but also they could be sometimes used in other metaverses and things like that. And I think that's what's interesting about the Sandbox is the fact that we're quite open to kind of being compatible with other projects so that we can kind of magnify the value that we add to the people. Because again, if an NFT exists, it exists on that blockchain, and whatever interacts with that blockchain, including other metaverse projects, they can have applications for that NFT. So that adds a lot of value to this project. And yeah, you can use, as I just mentioned, you can use this identity across other virtual worlds. So a good example is we actually bought, the company actually bought the one of the golden Bored Apes. This is from the Bored Ape Yacht Club. I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with this collection. It's been buzzing also very recently because they announced new projects. But this is an example. When we bought this, we actually decided to make it a voxelized version also. So now we have this as a character within the sandbox as well. Then we have obviously opportunities, which is, things that can be done in the metaverse. We talk about, obviously, this is quite simple and we've already talked about, these are just the, like very early innovations, but we're going to have a lot more coming up, I think. But social hubs, NFT galleries, nightclubs, modern houses. Again, if you want to visit all of those, you can check them out directly in the alpha season 3, which is season 2, which is released on March 3rd and will end on March 31st. So this is your chance if you want to check it out very soon. And so there are 5 pillars to entering the metaverse, which is giving value to fans and loyal users. So community access passes, private concert tickets, vouchers and discounts for e-commerce, NFT giveaways, and more. And then obviously, all had to do with the Snoop Dogg and this whole universe that he's creating around this. So it's not just a character or a place, but now we're creating other assets that we're going to be releasing soon. There's even like passes for you to have early access on certain NFT drops that are coming up. This is our landing page for the Snoop Doggies, which was again very popular. I'm just going to go through this pretty quickly. Play or earn models and play to earn models. So sorry, there's a mistake here. So yeah, we also reward play to earn this season. For example, we have a raffle system, which means if you play the game, every time you complete a quest, you get a raffle ticket. You can collect up to 500 raffle tickets, which at the end of the season gives you basically quite a lot of chances to win an alpha pass. If you win the alpha pass, you can actually monetize the time you spent in the game for up to basically 1,000 sand, which is right now I think about $3,000. So it's actually quite good, and it's a great way to kind of like explore the game and actually have a chance to maybe monetize what you've been playing. So this is it. This is the raffle system. This is all on the website right now. It's the 28th. Again, the raffle event is happening on the 31st, so you only have a few days. If you haven't started playing yet, it's going to be hard maybe to grind all the quests by then, but it still will give you a lot of chances to win if you manage to grind some of them. And then, so yeah, every day right now, these are kind of already over, but every day you had like kind of a Twitter contest that you can go on and get a chance to win an alpha pass. So no matter how many raffle tickets you have, if you win this contest, you get an alpha pass and get to monetize. So yeah, this is a very basic explanation of how it works. I'll let you get on the website and check it out for yourselves. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask me right now. I'd like to basically move to like the NFT culture, which is something we're still developing, but that's still developing within, obviously we're really pushing for, but that people are starting to, I think, understand more and more. And again, NFTs are just a technology. It's all about the applications, the storytelling behind it, the context. Just like a dollar is just a piece of paper, but the fact that there's a context to it, when you see a dollar, you understand its value. It's very similar for an NFT. For example, if you see just a random avatar that has no cultural references, it might not speak to you, but for someone maybe in Japan, it's part of an IP that they already know. And the cool thing about the metaverse, again, is that there are Japanese IPs that are not well known, for example, in the West, but then through this and interacting with IPs that maybe The Walking Dead or the Smurfs or the Care Bears or Snoop Dogg, because they're all in the metaverse, this kind of giant melting pot of IPs can really kind of add value to a lot of people if they want to magnify their brand or even their art. Just, it doesn't have to be a brand really. And so, yeah, you have, again, through the blockchain, the technology of the blockchain, you have true digital ownership. You can secure it, and it's immutable because it's on a blockchain. It has cross application interoperability. As I said, if another metaverse is interacting with that blockchain and wants to make use of that NFT, then they can. Trading also, obviously, you can, again, trade firsthand or secondhand markets. Everything is out there, including land. And yeah, the thing is also, we're really empowering UGC. So again, we have these game jam things, which you can, participate in if you want. We pretty much announce one every month. And we had, there's always a new theme. Like, for example, you see bottom right is retro gaming. We had one themed around The Walking Dead and other things. And the prizes are quite interesting and really kind of allow you to kind of showcase your creativity through this new platform. Yeah, so that's about it. I mean, what I think is the key is really the real estate is one aspect of it, but it's all about creativity and what people want to do with their land. And this is where actually your value is going to come out of. So offering immersive experiences that engage your fans is very important. Obviously, also the whole concept is now that it's a map that's set on the blockchain. It cannot be altered. So if you buy, for example, next to Snoop's house, if people want to go to Snoop's house, we'll create a transportation system within the sandbox, but we want to encourage people kind of physically going from point A to point B. So having a house near Snoop's house, if you're into his IPs or whatever your idea for a land is, and if it's close to what he does, I think you'll be able to find basically your audience very much more easily if you're near his house than if you're near the Smurfs village, for example. But that's what's really interesting about, I think, this new concept is that there's actually kind of a geographical aspect to the whole concept. Just like when you're in an MMORPG or something, you go from one place to another. Well, those things, if the servers are down or whatever, you can mess around with how they look and all that stuff. Here, it's just set on the blockchain. And so this is really kind of, even though you might have changes of ownership and everything, this is already like locked into the blockchain. And so, yeah, imagination is the most important right now. These are concepts that have been developed. People have been playing around the game maker, creating new things. I'd rather go very quickly on the last slides here, but just to give you an idea, this is again what we talked about. There are many different applications to it. I'm going to skip. There's a lot of different experiences, but I'll let you check them out for themselves. Like, this is actually one with the South China Morning Post, you go through a history tour of Hong Kong through the ages, from very early stages to from the colonial era basically to nowadays. And yeah, you have like this travel through time and discover more things. This is these are different IPs. So this is we announced Dungeon Siege. Right now we've just released a teaser for it, but Dungeon Siege is a really legendary almost franchise in video games. And so again, the world has been voxelized into this new kind of world. And Square Enix, yeah, has is very excited about this. This is an experience we have, which is a club that you can visit right now, the Alpha Season 3. And this month, every season, we try to showcase a new DJ. This is Blondish, but last time we had deadmau5 taking over XYZ. Next time we might have another DJ, which is pretty sure now. But yeah, so we tried also to create experiences that are quite unique. She actually recorded 4 tracks for this season, just for this. So you can go and check out, new unique kind of art directly in the sandbox. Yeah, and again, I think what's important is to understand that this can all just be created. If it's just a map, it's just a map. What's interesting is all the value that's the communities are creating right now. So these are teams of creators throughout the world. We have people. I usually my days consist of starting with talking to people in Australia or the Philippines or China or Japan, and then ending with talking to people in California or you guys in Boston. So this is what's really cool about this job, I think, is that it's completely decentralized, and I think the way we work is also very decentralized. And I got to say, when I graduated university back in 2004, and I saw some of the jobs that were out there, and I was like, this is like probably not for me, like wearing a suit and tie and like just doing 9 to 5. I think you guys, are coming at a right time to kind of like be able to preserve a lot of your kind of identity and liberty through this new ecosystem, which is Web3. I think it's going to bring a lot of different opportunities for, you to also work through, avatars if you want to work wherever you want, because again, you have digital ownership, which means you can also invest in assets that didn't, that were not possible to own just, 10 years ago. So that's actually quite exciting, I think. And that's basically, I think, where we should probably take the conversation if you guys have any questions. But thanks for watching. Check out the Sandbox game website, sandbox.game. And yeah, check out the final days of the alpha season. But if you just want to check out and visit and maybe have a chance to win something at the raffle, make sure to get started soon. Thank you.
And that was very, very cool. A lot more details about the Metaverse and Sandbox than I thought before.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah. Well, does anyone have any questions for Arnaud about virtual real estate or the Sandbox specifically?
All right. The boomer in me is trying to get rid of this screen here. So, you can start asking questions while I'm trying to figure this out.
I had a question kind of related to like the actual game aspect. What's the performance like? Like, do you need like a good computer to play the Sandbox?
Yeah, I'd say, any kind of, you don't have to have like, the craziest latest. Right now we run on some, some of our computers have RTX, some of just have GT, is it GTI or GTX are the previous, I'm not sure, before RTX. Sorry, I'm being fuzzy on that one, but some are running those with laptops. So, they can be a couple years old for sure. Usually, we started developing the game for PC. The Mac build just came out for this season on March 3rd. Basically was released on March 3rd officially, meaning, I'm not sure about Mac performance, but I know for PC, you don't have to have the latest and greatest. And I believe for Mac, it's the same. Right now, since it's still an alpha phase, there are, performance, I would say, probably bottlenecks that will probably be better ironed out down the road, meaning it's not fully optimized because we're still working on a roadmap that we're developing. And the way you have to see it is those alpha seasons are there also as test phases to understand what our community likes the most. And so that we can kind of prioritize that as the next steps to improve on. I saw okay, well, that was just a question. Okay, cool.
I have a question. You said that there's a 70% of the lands on sale now. Once it reaches 100%, will that be the finite number forever? Would you be like creating new cities, or what's the deal?
It's not on the roadmap to add more land. We don't want to. I think that there's many reasons for that. I think we don't want to dilute it. I think is one of them. For it to exist as its own and create its own identity, just like Manhattan, you can't expand Manhattan. Tokyo did it with artificial islands like Odaiba. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it's a bit different. And to a certain extent, you might be able to, but we take it very seriously. The scarcity is part of what makes it unique. And so it's not the idea to add more land. However, obviously it can change hands. It's just like, Manhattan, pieces of Manhattan or whatever, New York City or even, or whatever land basically can change hands and can be, traded just like real estate. That's definitely doable. But the idea is to keep this scarcity going to make this, again, almost like a geographical destination that's unique.
Great, thank you. And I have one more question too. But you said that there's only land for sale on OpenSea now in the secondary market, right?
Well, we do have original. Sorry, I'm blanking out on the name in English for some reason, but basically a sale from the Sandbox itself. So on the Sandbox website, if you follow our Twitter, sometimes we do announce new land sales. For example, we did one for Snoop in January. So Snoop Dogg had bought his house in the Metaverse or his parcel in the Metaverse, should I say, and then obviously built, the mansion and all that stuff, whatever he wants to build on that parcel. But beyond that, basically all the lands around it, we kind of create a Snoop land, because just him being there, and kind of like, I don't know if you guys play Civilization, the game, but like basically you can win
Yeah.
by just like taking over other countries, you know, from just by the sheer amount of how much your civilization radiates. Well, you know, a brand like Snoop obviously is huge. And so again, to have that kind of awareness, we decided to have a land sale around Snoop's estate, as it being like Snoop land. And so I try to buy land from that. And frankly, I mean, it doesn't matter, like, just so you know, like, we don't have dibs as employees of the Sandbox. It really is decentralized in that way, that basically it's the person who buys it first who gets it. And so I didn't manage to get any, but yeah, that's the idea. And then obviously I went on the secondary market, and it was a lot more expensive than than on the original markets. Some people, you know, obviously will try to sometimes sell it back right away, or some people will hold on to it. Depends.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yes, one of my question, in terms of real estate, the most important rule in real estate that people play around with is location, location, location. And a lot of that comes from the fact that in our road, we have space to move in between. So you gotta walk, you gotta take the bus, you gotta take the car. I know that this may be a beginner question, but how do I move inside the Sandbox, and how do you guys see transportation? How are you gonna move from a place to another? Will I be able to click a link or to say something and move from one place to the other? Yeah,
Very
that's
good
it.
question, actually. No, you're right, because the whole thing, I mean, there are two things, right? It's scarcity, and also, as I said, like, as I mentioned, I try to call it like geographical kind of limitations, right? In a way, you want that kind of limitation to, like, that's where the value stems from. So that's a great question. Right now we have, we do want to keep that feeling without at the same time completely blocking people from, you know, moving around. It's going to be a pretty vast map if you see the number of lands that we have. So there's not going to be, though, it's not going to be all default fast travel. So it's not gonna be like Skyrim or whatever, where you can just like double click on a location and just go pretty much anywhere. The idea is to have most of the, you know, movement done physically in a way, whether it's through streets or you know, that basically go between lands. But usually, you know, main default transportation is obviously on foot, because you're traveling around the metaverse. But we were looking into other ideas. If you want an update, we can, I'll share that with you guys. But basically, we have a Git book that's public that basically gives you all kinds of answers, a lot of those questions, and goes into a lot more detail about what we have in mind. But also, I think it's going to depend on, you know, again, that's one of the reasons why I think that Sandbox is such a sweet spot, because we are very open to, you know, being participative, but at the same time, we're rolling out very, you know, in iteratively. So we're being careful not to kind of throw things out and just let them happen. We're actually curating a lot of the content to make sure we're nudging the project in the right direction. And that's one of those. For now, if you try the alpha season 2, you'll see you have teleport hubs, because the lands, the way they are hosted on maybe certain parts of the map that are not connected to each other. So we have them, you fast travel basically. But if you look at the fast travel map, it's actually on the Sandbox website, and you double click, and then on your browser is going to say play, and then if you click the play button, it's going to switch you back to the game, and then it'll say, do you want to travel? But we actually don't have a fast travel map within the game, because again, we're a metaverse. Like, this is just kind of like a temporary solution to those lands not being connected physically. Later down the road, what we want is really to have that feeling that you're basically being connected. And if you want to get to Snoop's house, but you have to go through, I don't know, the Smurfs village, then you'll walk through the Smurfs village, because, you know, that's a possibility too. And that's how you create all that exposure and that foot traffic, right? I mean, I was in retail for a long time too. It's like, you know, it's all about foot traffic. That's why so many stores are fighting to be on the first floor, because like this is where most people go. And so we want to have that reality also within that experience.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We just had one question in the chat, and then we'll go to you after. Yeah, the question in the chat is there any governance mechanism that is not not centralized in the Sandbox company / platform that preserves the land scarcity.
So again, on the Git book, you can see a lot more about kind of like a roadmap. But yeah, originally, I mean, down the road, we want to develop, a DAO. So that, governance is a lot more decentralized. Right now, we're still in alpha stages. And, again, to be able to reply, answer to the community's most important, requests, or at least like what they're looking for the most. We're still in rolling out these test phases, but the idea eventually is to really give governance to the community. So that would be one part of the question, I guess. Is there any governance mechanism that is not centralized in the Sandbox company platform that preserves the land scarcity? So the land scarcity itself is just guaranteed by the fact that we are locked into this number of lands, I guess. And what do you mean by that? You mean, like, for example, is there like a decentralized way of people voting on whether or not you're going to sell some parts of lands, or what? Could you try to expand on that question? Maybe first, did I answer your question? If not, I can expand a bit more.
Lewis is on Zoom. I'm not sure if he's logging in, but I think what he was asking more is like kind of how Bitcoin has the built-in, like you said, there's a limited amount of land. There's only 21 million Bitcoin, but also like I think the inflation or the deflationary, like having events that happen every 4 years where the monetary policy isn't set by a centralized authority, rather it's just set in the code or by like a decentralized community.
I think again, I'm not sure if I'm really answering the question right, but
I think you are. Yeah, when you said that,
okay.
like, there's the scarcity of the land, I think that's what he was asking about, is like making sure that like the Sandbox isn't minting.
No, we're not. Yeah.
Exactly,
we're not diluting, and also so yeah, we're not like a deflationary. We're not gonna kind of either burn or just mint more land just to kind of speculate on the price or whatever like that. And that's why, I mean, the DAO is going to be about how the whole content is being created, and like all kinds of different governance decisions. But when it comes to land, that's kind of already set literally in stone if you want to use that metaphor all the way, that it's going to be that amount of land.
Okay, perfect. We just have 2 more questions.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for taking my question. I'm just curious, like, I guess more specifically related to real estate. I'm curious if you could speak a little bit more about perhaps like the level of architects. I keep seeing like architects, interior designers mentioned in the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
What types of concepts and ideas are they speaking about or bringing to you guys to develop? And how are they relating to the analog world, and how are they elevating their business models?
Super interesting question. Well, let me just think about, well, first, I think what's interesting is that, and again, like it always comes back to being completely decentralized. But what's crazy about the company, when I arrived, I had the same assumption as you, that the architects would work with the Sandbox. Again, the Sandbox offers the platform, but if people have land, they can just deal directly with the architects, because we don't own that land anymore. So that's also like just a brand new concept. I know it sounds kind of crazy when you think about it, because but that's also why we're a little bit confused when I'm personally a little bit confused. I don't speak for the Sandbox for that, but like when I see like big companies that are going to the metaverse, because for me, like, if you really want to make a metaverse, then you don't own the land once you sell it. It's kind of crazy to think about it. So here, you'll have, so architects, in terms of architects, you can have pretty much anyone within the architecture community or industry that could approach a landowner, for example, and they don't have to go through us. They can, and especially when they hear maybe about like a huge deal, like with Adidas, for example, or whatever it is, they might be interested in saying, hey, we want to set up like a metaverse architecture bureau or whatever, and that's totally doable. But they don't really need our blessing to do that. They can actually do it themselves and start working with landowners if they want to. So we have people from all over the world. Every time I talk to people, actually, they say, oh, I know this architect and he's super interested in this project, and he used to even build on Minecraft and Roblox, and he loved it. And like, so I know this guy, this American guy who's based in Saudi Arabia right now, who's like super interested in doing this. We work with real world architects also. So some of them are really I would say, liberated by the fact they don't have to worry about structural, issues or anything like that, because basically it's all blocks. But that's quite interesting, and you have a lot of people who created really cool things. Actually, this presentation was super long, so I had to like take out a few. But there was like a really cool concept made by this German architecture studio, and you can recognize it sometimes. Just okay, these guys are architects and made it. So I think it's quite interesting. They're really architecture studios from all over the world, and actually again, that's what the difference between being a game and being a metaverse. Like a game won't really attract a lot of architectural studios, or at least they'll do it for a while and they'll stop. But here they can actually make a living off of that. So that's actually quite interesting, because there's also the client experience that goes into it. It's not just about, like making a game for the context of the game. It's actually something that goes well beyond that. So it starts to really pique a lot of interest among those that industry as well.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Luis. I got your confirmation that I answered your question. Cool.
Well,
Yes. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks for coming tonight, first of all. I have a question again about the real estate space.
Sure.
First, can you share with us whether the industry, I guess, in Sandland is dominated more on residential versus commercial? As an agent, I kind of I have trouble viewing, I guess, a buyer being very comfortable, I guess, with a virtual stage showing in the metaverse for, that type of property. I'm curious to see, which of the two industries are more active. And number two, who are your most active brokers, if you can share with us?
Okay. I'm not sure about the second one for different reasons. One is I'm not sure I'd be able to tell you for confidentiality reasons. But to be honest, I'm just not sure what our brokers are. I think also, again, it's decentralized, so we don't really have. We basically put it on our social networks, and then there might be a whole ecosystem, and there's got to be one that's developing around that. And again, imagine us as like being like a piece of land that we just like open for sale legally, and that for example, I know there are reserved spaces, even in the United States, like some national parks and all that stuff. Imagine like all of a sudden we open a section of that, and then whoever comes and wants to grab it and obviously buy it for the original sale, then they can do whatever they want with it. So when it comes to that, there might be brokers behind it. I can't really guarantee, to be honest. That's the first. Sorry, I answered your second question first. And in the process, I totally forgot the first part. What was that again? Sorry.
I guess which is more heavily dominated, commercial or residential?
I would say commercial right now. But again, like it depends. The really interesting thing about this is we don't really have all the answers, because this is such a decentralized project that it's up to the community. But at this stage, I think a lot of people, and again, it depends on what you call residential. If residential is just hanging out, I mean, it's hard to tell, because let me just bring it to maybe a bit more of a gaming perspective. But you would have, first multiplayer experiences and solo experiences. Multiplayer would be more like social experiences, or people, kind of challenging each other and like racing each other and things like that within the world. Solo experiences would be more, for example, like a traditional game, like a dungeon you have to clear, or things like that, or whatever, like a Zelda type of game that you play by yourself. So I would say multiplayer and solo right now, since there are a lot of projects that are happening at the same time, I'm not sure. But when it comes to the seasons we're developing right now, it's about 50-50. We have about half our multiplayer, half of our solo experiences. But now when you think about, if you want to take it from a more real estate traditional idea, I would say, multiplayer seems to me a little bit more on the art side or social side. So I would say maybe it's more residential. I don't see, like, the thing about when you think about residential in the real world, you have, necessities such as a place to sleep, a place to make food, a place to do all that. And in the metaverse, really, you don't really use space for that, since you just log in when you're awake, for example. So I think it's a bit difficult to kind of separate. But so I would say a lot of those, if you think about it, it's more commercial, and that it's usually a place for you to entertain yourself, to learn about something, to share, socialize with people. So I guess like the equivalent of a club, for example, in the metaverse, if you take a club, that would be a commercial kind of space. So I think just the applications from the fact that it's just a virtual world, you don't really need a place to reside. There's a place to relax, for example, but that would be kind of different from a residential place, I think, in that way. So I hope I answered your question, but yeah, I don't think you can really draw a complete, perfect parallel between real world and metaverse applications when it comes to entertainment, commercial versus residential.
All right, thank you so much. And can we all just thank Arnaud, because he's actually, it's 2 a.m. in France right now. So.
It's actually 1 a.m. So it's
Sorry, yeah,
and we
1
just,
a.m.
it's all good.
So yes, thank you so much, Arnaud, for coming.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys. It's great to reconnect with the Northeastern.
And yes, thank you all for coming. This is past 7 o'clock. So hopefully we'll see you next week.
Don't hesitate if you have questions. I don't know if you can hear me still.
We reach out to you.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Arnaud, how do we reach out to you if we have questions?
Luke, feel free to share my email and I'll be happy to answer you guys. With time difference and everything in mind. I mean, send it anytime. I mean, just saying, like, I might not be able to reply right away, but happy, send me an email anytime you want.
I'll put it in the Discord and Slack, and we can put it everywhere else. So
cool.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Go Huskies. See you.